Welcome everyone to India's largest learning platform, Unacademy. You can subscribe to Unacademy and become a part of Unacademy family. There are many benefits of Unacademy subscription. For example, you can attend daily live classes. These classes are quite interesting. You can engage in discussion, ask your doubts, answer polls are also conducted. Live tests and quizzes through which you can evaluate your performance. The courses of Unacademy are structured, properly planned. You also get unlimited access to the platform through which you can see live and recorded courses. After taking subscription, you can attend courses of 100 plus top educators. For example, Mrunal Patel sir and other top educators. For UPSC CSE subscription, you can choose any of the given package from 1 month to 36 month. The subscription fees for 12 month is 49500. For 2 year it is 72,000. For 3 year it is 90,000. But you can use my code AJ01, which is my referral code, and get 10% off on Unacademy subscription. You can also go for iconic subscription, which is available in 1 year, 2 year and 3 year options. Iconic subscription for 1 year is 69,500 rupees. For 2 year it is 1,07,000. For 3 year it is 1,41,000 rupees. But again, use my code AJ01. Get 10% off on any of the given package. Now there is an introductory offer for you where you are getting free optional coaching facility or free optional live classes along with your GS classes. So suppose if you are taking subscription to Unacademy until 31st October 2020, so along with your GS you will get free optional classes. You can attend any course of your optional subject. So total fees will be 49,500 rupees inclusive of optional. So here optional is free. Now after 31st October, means from 1st of November, you have to pay separately 27,500 for optional, and then you will end up paying 77,000 rupees. So this is an introductory offer for next 4 days. So take the advantage of this offer. Also use referral code AJ01 to get 10% off on the subscription. Now there are following optionals. Courses are available, so you can choose any of the following optional. There are 4 literature optionals: Maithili, Hindi, Kannada language and English literature, and then we have got 14 other optionals. So total 18 optionals are available. You can choose any of the following and take the courses of on optional. After 31st October, from 1st of November, you have to take separate subscription of optional. So take the advantage of introductory offer. Optional fees for UPSC: 1 month is 5,000 rupees, 6 month 22,500, 12 month 27,500, 24 month 40,000, 36 month 50,000 rupees. Now use AJ01 to get subscription. My name is Ashpal Janwa, qualified for UPSC mains examination 2 times, RS examination 3 times, 3 to 5 years of teaching experience. Join me on my Telegram channel. Follow me on Unacademy. Now let us start today's class. Understanding keywords, directives of UPSC mains, UPSC CSE mains examination paper with model answers. So in this class, in strategy classes on GS 1, 2, 3 and 4, we have discussed about various directives and questions are asked on those directives in UPSC CSE mains examination. Now you have to know the meaning of each and every directive so that you can give your answer as per the demand of question. Since your entire GS preparation or since your entire GS paper are designed as per these directives, you have to know the differences between each directive and you have to give your answer as per directive. Otherwise you won't be able to fetch marks because answer of each directive is different from other directive. So we will also take model answer on each directive to help us understand in a better way. So let us start. There are 7 papers in UPSC mains. First paper is essay paper. There are 4 GS papers. We have got 2 optionals. So in a whole there are 1750 marks involved in mains examination. Also there are 2 qualifying papers. We all know about all these papers. So question on paper 2 to 5, they are based on directives. Also even in optional paper you will see directives. So we have to understand the meaning of each and every directive. I have taken 13 directives which are most frequently asked in the examination, and we will not only cover the meaning of directive but also model question we have taken. We are giving model answers so that we actually understand what it means when the question is asked as per that particular directive. So let us start. First directive is comment. Now it is most frequently asked directive in UPSC mains examination. So after 20 question you can get 4 to 5 question on comment. So you have to understand the meaning of this comment directive. Let us understand the meaning of comment. Now don't think anything else. Imagine a commentary of IPL match. Comment is as similar as commentary in cricketer matches. In cricket matches, for example, Navjot Singh Sidhu is doing commentary, Ravi Shastri is doing commentary, or Akash Chopra is doing commentary. So think about that particular aspect. Now what a commentator does in his commentary, he talks about how someone is batting. For example, Virat Kohli is batting good, so he will talk about Virat Kohli is batting nicely. How someone is bowling, how Jasprit Bumrah is bowling, he is bowling nicely. How the fielding, how a team is fielding, somebody has nice shot, or how, what is the strategy of batting team, what is the strategy of fielding team, and more. So what is being done in commentary, you are talking about various facts of particular issue. For example, like for a cricket match you are talking about batting, bowling, fielding, some nice shots, some nice fielding, nice strategy by the team, or shortcomings of every aspect. So you are a neutral person, you are a third person, you are a neutral person, you are talking about various facts. Also you are having various viewpoints, because who is commentator? Commentators are former cricketer or they know about the game. So they are throwing various viewpoints, various facts are being discussed, but Remember, commentators, they have to, while commenting, you have to be neutral. So you can relate to commentary of the cricket from this particular directive. Be neutral. Talk about various facts. Talk about various viewpoints that is being done in commentary. Now let us see a live example, or let us take a question and try to answer in through comment directive. Goods and service tax GST is a major landmark in Indian taxation system. You have to comment. GST is a major landmark in Indian taxation system. So how you will answer? You will write about evolution of GST in first part of your answer. In second part, you will talk more about GST. So basically what you are doing, you are talking about various facts of GST. Then you are talking about neutral commentary. So you, as a neutral observer, as a neutral expert, what you are talking about, whether GST is a major landmark or not. And at the end, you are concluding. So how you are going to do? Basically what you have done, you have talked about facts of GST, then you have talked about more facts about GST, so you're talking in detail, then you are having a neutral commentary or neutral comment on GST, that whether it is a new landmark, major landmark in Indian taxation system or not, and at last you are concluding. So in evolution of GST, you will talk about constitutional amendment and bill. So constitutional 102nd amendment bill of 2014, the constitution 101st amendment act of 2015, article 279, which is about GST council. So you can write all these facts in your introduction to talk about evolution of GST. Now you will talk more about GST. So you will say GST is an indirect tax, it is a value added tax. GST is applicable on supply, not on demand. It is not a manufacturing based tax. It is a destination based tax, not an origin based tax. It has no cascading effect. It has got multiple rates. So basically you are talking about basic facts of GST. So while commenting or writing your answer on comment directive, you have to tell various facts about the issue, evolution, more facts about GST. Then as a neutral commentator, as a neutral expert, you have to tell that whether it is a major landmark or not. So how it is a major landmark? Various taxes are incorporated into GST. There are central taxes and state taxes. So you can call it a single tax. GST is a major landmark because it is bringing more transparency. There will be more tax compliances. There will be no cascading effect. It will bring higher efficiency. There are many benefits to GST. For example, benefit to government, to states, to customer, industry and economy. Now you are not telling a lie. What you are doing, you are talking as a neutral person. You are not being partial. Whatever benefit of GST which are supposed to be, you are talking about all those benefits, and at the end you will conclude. In conclusion, what you will write? Yes, GST is a new bill. It has got many potential benefit. So it is a major landmark. In the Indian taxation system, but we have to also work on shortcomings of GST or limitations of GST, so that that major landmark is actualized and you can end your the answer. So what you have done in comment directive, you are talking as a neutral person, you have talked about various facts, various viewpoints, and then you concluded. So about GST you talked about, in introduction you talked about evolution, in main part you talked about more facts about GST, more basics about GST. Then in very next para you talked about what is being asked in the question, try to justify it as a neutral person. So how it is a major landmark, that yes, these are some of the benefit which are making it as a major landmark. At the end you are writing conclusion. So this is way how you comment. Now how it is different from other answer, here you haven't talked about for or against. You are not talking in favor of GST, you are not talking against GST. As a neutral person you are seeing what are various facts of GST. So in comment section you neither talk in favor nor talk in against, you talk as a neutral person. So that is your first directive. You have to remember, in comment you have to write in this particular pattern. So comment can be deal in this manner. I hope you are able to understand. Please start like the class if you are able to get me. So we just have to take a stand. No Bhavya, we need not to take a stand. Actually you have to be a neutral person and talk about the reality. Neither you have to talk, neither you have to talk in favor nor you have to take against of the issue. Just you have to write about the facts, that is comment. For example, in a cricket match, batting team, suppose there is a match between India and Australia. India is batting, Virat Kohli and Shikhar Dhawan are batting. They are playing nicely. Okay, fielding of Australia is not good. So what you will do, you will appreciate Virat Kohli and Shikhar Dhawan that they are batting nicely. Their partnership is more than 100 runs. Australia is not able to contain them. Their bowling is not up to the mark. So whatever reality you are talking about, that reality, that is comment. So basically you are, suppose you are Ravi Shastri. So what you are? You are an Indian. So you and you are a former Indian cricketer. So basically you can talk in favor of India, but no, you are talking as a neutral person. Neither you are talking in favor of India nor you are talking in favor of Australia. You are talking what reality is. So if India is batting well, you are appreciating India, that is fact. If Australia is fielding bad, you are criticizing Australia, so that is commentary. So you have to be a neutral person and talk the reality. So first you have to talk about all the facts of issue. Second, whatever is being asked, sir, we have to tell merits and conclude. You have to tell merit, demerit and conclude in positive light. You can say you have to talk about the reality, that what is whether it is a major landmark or not. So GST is a major landmark, you all know. So we will talk in favor of GST being a major landmark. So we have written all important points that why GST is a major landmark. Also in conclusion you can write about some shortcomings of GST and say that yes, GST is a major landmark but there are few shortcomings, and then we have to work on these shortcomings. Then GST is a will become a instrumental law in Indian taxation system like this. So talk reality. Now to make you understand more, let us move ahead with a next comment. I hope you are able to get me. You have to talk about what is reality, what are facts. Critically comment. Here now you will be able to relate in a better way. What is critically comment? Think about television debate. Okay, suppose there is a debate on woman's entry into temple. Okay, so whom you will invite? You will invite some woman activist. You will invite some religious gurus. You will invite some law experts. You will also invite some judicial experts, and you will have a neutral moderator. You will have an anchor. So think about an ideal television debate. So all stakeholders are invited. Some people speak in favor, some speak against the issue. There is a neutral moderator. Now it is nowadays in TV debate it is difficult to find a neutral moderator. We are imagining we are talking about an ideal situation where all stakeholders are invited. Some people speaking in favor, other speaking against. The moderator is neutral. These days moderator are not neutral. They all are shouting, and it is difficult to watch TV debates. Usually I don't prefer watching TV debates because the entire purpose of discussion is killed. So take about an ideal think about an ideal TV debate. All stakeholders are invited. Moderator is being neutral. So in critically comment question, what you have to do, you have to talk about both sides of the coin. Here in comment you were not talking about both side of the coin. You were talking what is fact or what is reality. And fact was GST is a major landmark. Yes, we agreed. That's why we talked we given some point in favor of GST being a major landmark. Here you have to talk about both sides, even if you know that a particular suppose positives are more, negatives are less. Then also you have to talk about positive and negative in critically examined. So you have to talk about both sides of a coin. Write all positive and negative. Even if you have got one negative, you have to write. Even you have got 10 positives, you have to write all 10 positives. Now you have to have a balanced approach. So balanced approach will be there on only when you will talk about both side of the coins, and at the last you will conclude and give a way forward as to how to overcome the shortcomings. So it is critically comment. Now critically comment is different from comment. Comment you are talking about the fact and reality. Here you are seeing the issue holistically, talking all sides of the coin. For example, in TV debate, women activists will speak in favor of women's entry into temple. A religious guru will have their different interpretation. They will say that no, as per religion or as per some of the tradition, women are not permitted to enter into temple. Law expert will have their separate opinion. Judicial expert will say something else. Now there is a neutral moderator. So you, I'm assuming yourself as a neutral moderator and talking all views and then taking a balanced approach is critically comment. Whenever this critical word comes into play, you have to write all sides of the coin or both sides of the coin. So I hope you are able to understand the difference between comment and critically comment. Let us take an example. We are taking the same question and we will critically comment. Goods and service tax fees will significantly reform the tax compliance system in India. Question on GST. Goods and service tax will significantly reform the tax compliances system in India. Critically examine. So what you have to do? You have to talk holistically. So one aspect will be, yes, it will significantly reform tax compliance system in India. Second, it will not significantly reform tax compliance system in India. So you will talk in both the aspect and write your points. So first, you will write brief evolution and basics of GST in 2-3 lines. Here in comment section, in comment question, you have talked about facts of GST in detail. Almost 2-3 para of your answer were about facts and detail. In critical comment, what you are doing, just you are writing 2-3 lines about facts or basics of the issue. So same facts, the constitutional bill 2014 amendment, 101st amendment bill, and it is an indirect tax and value added tax. So briefly you are talking, not in detail. Because your purpose of question is you have to talk about both sides. So more weightage or more space should be given to in favor and against. So in very next para you will talk about, it is main part or body of your answer. So here you will talk about, write how GST will significantly reform the tax compliance system in India. In the very next para you will write shortcomings of GST regarding tax compliances. So you're talking about both sides of the coin and at the end you will conclude. So that is critically comment. So let us talk in detail how GST will significantly reform tax compliance system in India. First, GST is easier to administer. Earlier taxation which were very complicated. Now why GST is easy to administer? Because it is a single tax. Many central taxes and state taxes are combined to make one tax. So obviously it is difficult to administer 10 taxes then one tax. So GST is easy to administer, so it will help in tax compliances. Now difficult to evade GST because GST, there is more use of technology in GST. There is GSTN, Goods and Service Tax Network. So that GST network is professionally handled. So use of technology, so difficult to evade it. You have constant monitoring system. So it will discourage tax evasion. If tax evasion is discouraged, it will lead to better tax compliances. Mechanism of GST is more clear. We have got CGST, IGST and SGST. So easier to monitor. Technology is being used, especially IT, information technology is being used, easy to monitor. Also what you have done, you have streamlined the taxation system where laws, procedure and rates, all these were streamlined. So complications are simplified. Also, there is reduction in corruption. So, lesser the corruption, more the tax compliance. There are some exemption in GST, so that exemption will also promote compliance. There is also input tax credit to small industries or companies which are generating revenue less than 20 lakh rupees. So there is also input tax credit. So because of all these factors, GST will significantly reform the tax compliance system in India. You have talked about one side of the coin. These points are basic points. We all know, easy to administer, difficult to evade, discourage tax evasion. Is mechanism of GST is more crystal clear, transparent, technology is being used, easy to monitor, taxation system is streamlined, corruption is less, there are exemptions, so there are incentives, input tax credit is given. So all this leads to uh, greater tax compliances. Now you will talk about shortcomings in, so second side of the coin is shortcomings of GST regarding tax compliances. So what are shortcomings? It is complicated procedure. So for to file GST, the procedure is a bit complicated, and initially, especially less techno savvy companies were finding it difficult to file GST. We all have seen this. So complicated procedure of GST filing. Also, capacity of state tax authority. So now to make implementation of GST more effective, or to implement GST, you need institutional mechanism. So not only central tax authority, but also you need support of state tax authority. Now suppose uh, the capacity of state tax authority is limited in terms of technology, in terms of manpower, in terms of training. Manpower is not trained, in terms of awareness. So capacity building aspect is a limitation. Also training of manpower is again an issue. Tax education awareness, these are some of the shortcomings of GST. Compliance mechanism and monitoring by the state tax authority. So you are writing some of the shortcomings which are leading to which are concerning tax compliances, or shortcoming concerning tax compliances. So you are talking both side of the coins, and at the end you will conclude and you will write, yes, despite having more shortcomings, GST is a promising bill. If implemented properly, along with working on capacity building, it can significantly reform the tax compliance system in India. Now see this answer, how it is different from comment. Comment, you are talking about facts only. Comment what you have, that GST is a major landmark in Indian taxation system. This was our question. So what you have commented, you talked about facts in second para, more fact about GST, and third part you talked about whether it is a major landmark or not, and you talked about facts and concluded. You haven't talked about both side of the coins here, but in critically comment you are talking holistically, you are covering holistically. So what you are doing, you are talking about fact briefly only. In very first para we briefly discussed about GST, then you directly came to the point that how it will significantly reform the tax compliance system in India. Again, you talked about first side of the coin, write your points in favor of it. Second side of the coin was talked by you to cover the issue holistically. At the end, you concluded and that you talked that it is a promising bill. If implemented properly, it can significantly reform the tax compliance system in India. But for that, we need capacity building, awareness, uh, greater empowerment of state tax authority, and talking in this fashion. So you can understand. I hope you are able to relate how to write comment and critically comment. So whenever there is word critical, it simply means you have to take about head and tail, or in favor and against, or more broadly you have to write the issue holistically. So more focus on this particular aspect in comment. Not you just have to comment only. So talk about facts, more facts, and reality. So that is different between comment and critically comment. I hope you are able to get these two directives. Let us move forward. Now we have got one more directive, which is examine. Now before talking about examine, think about Sherlock Holmes or any other detective which is there to examine a crime scene. A detective or an examiner, what he will do, he will examine the case in minute details. So he will understand it, he will try to understand the case, he will do a thorough inspection, investigation, he will talk, he will see all the details of case and also implications of each and every detail. So what you are doing, you are doing a detailed examination. That is all about examine. So you have to remember three directives together. First is comment, second is examine, third is analyze. Now there is minute, actually all these directives are same, you have to do same things, but the degree of details is highest in analyze, least in comment. So in comment, if you comment is deep, examine is deeper, and analyze is deepest. Just remember this particular box, you will never get confused. Comment, examine, and analyze. Comment is deep, or you will talk about fact. Examine, you will examine deeper. Analyze, you will analyze the issue in deepest possible sense. Okay, now whenever I will use the word critical along with my comment, so you will talk about both side of the coin. Whenever I use this critical word with comment, critical with examine, so you will examine critically, so you are examining deeper but watching both side of the coins. When I will say critically analyze, so you are watching the case in deepest possible way but talking about both side of the coins. So this is how you talk about directives. I hope you are able to understand. So examiner is deeper than comment but less deep than analyze. So basically the degree of deepness is increasing. Comment is deep, examine is deeper, analyze is deepest. Okay, so you have to be a detective while examination of the case. For example, Sherlock Holmes. I hope you are able to understand. You can take a screenshot. It is very important because in this particular slide we are covering 6 directives: comment, examine, analyze, critically comment, critically examine, critically analyze. So I hope you are able to understand. The degree of examination, degree of details is increasing from comment to examine and examine to analyze. So let us take an example to have better understanding about examine directive, examine keyword. Examine the text revenue implications of GST for states. Examine the tax revenue implication of GST for states. So whether GST is able to increase the tax revenue of a state or not. That is the case. Now here you will briefly talk about GST. Write evolution and basics of GST briefly in 2 or 3 lines. Similarly, whatever you have done in critically comment, you are writing here in examination. Second part, you are since you are you are examining in detail or deeply examination, so we'll talk more about which taxes of state are incorporated into GST. Why? Because you have to know the tax revenue implications. That revenue implication will depends upon how many taxes are incorporated into GST. How many central taxes and state taxes, then only you can examine. So we will talk about all state taxes, state indirect taxes incorporated into GST. Second part, you will talk about central indirect taxes incorporated into GST. So you will list all those taxes. Now since you have listed all the taxes, now you will talk about implication and impact of these taxes on tax revenue of the state. It is main part of the answer. You are examining the case in more detail, but implication and impact is more important. Also you will talk about exempted taxes, that which indirect taxes are exempted from the purview of GST. Now again you will talk about implications and impact of exempted taxes on tax revenue of the state. If you have some more dimension, talk more about it and at the end conclude. So here it is more detailed and deeper examination. So first para, you are writing basics of GST. Again you are talking about same things, that bill of 2014 122nd amendment bill, constitutional 101st amendment act 2060. It is indirect tax, value added tax. Second, which state indirect taxes are incorporated into GST? So, sales tax, octroi and entry tax, entertainment tax, purchase tax, luxury tax and lottery, betting and gambling. These taxes or these state taxes are incorporated into GST. Third part, you will talk about central taxes which have become part of GST. So talk about service tax, central excise duty, additional excise duty, additional custom duty. Now you have to remember all these taxes because in 2019 mains examination there was a direct question that which taxes are incorporated into GST. So you have to remember all important central and state taxes which have become part of GST. Additional custom duty, special additional duty on custom. So these central taxes. Now we will talk about implication of these taxes and impact of these taxes on tax revenue of the state. How the tax revenue will get affected by incorporation of these taxes. Next, you will talk about some exemptions. So many large revenue earning taxes of the state are not part of GST. For example, this taxes on petroleum product, which is a major tax revenue for the state. Also, excise duty on liquor, again it is largest, one of the largest tax revenue for a state, tax revenue source of the state. Tobacco product are not part of GST. Stamp duty and electricity taxes, these are also not part of GST. These are still levied by state. So you list all these taxes and you will talk about their implication and impact, that how state revenue will get affected by not incorporated by these taxes into GST. You will talk about more dimensions. In more dimensions, you can talk about recommendation of Finance Commission. So if you remember the recommendation of 14th Finance Commission, the devolution of tax devolution from center to state was 42%, which was highest ever. So again it is also going to affect the revenue of state, because the Finance Commission has recommended that out of 100 crore rupees, 42 crore will go to state. So the devolution of taxes and recommendation of Finance Commission is another dimension you can talk about implication of tax revenue for the state, and at the end you will conclude. So in this way you examine a particular case, or you can talk about examination directive. I hope you are able to understand. Let us see critically examine. So critically examine is nothing. You have to examine, but you have to see all sides of the coin. In examination you will go deeper. In critically examine you will go deeper, but you will talk about both sides of the coin. So what you have to do? Talk about both sides of the coin. Write positive and negative. Have a balanced approach. Conclude giving way forward. How it is different from critically comment. Similarly, degree. Examination is deeper than comment, and bus less deeper than analyze. You have to remember. So comment, examine, and analyze. These three. Now degree of deepness is increasing. So critically comment will again more critically examine will more deeper than critically comment, and critically analyze will have highest degree of deepness. So again similarly to critically comment, you have to see both side of the coins and have a balanced approach. Now in all YouTube channels or in all YouTube videos, you will not know where find somebody is explaining these directives with live examples. You will not find a YouTube video which is explaining these directives with live examples. So with live examples it becomes very easy, and it took me long hours to do this. So please like and share the class. Critically examine. Let us see a question. Critically examine the tax revenue implications of GST for a state. Same question, but I have told what I have done. I have used the word critically examine only. So first part, write evolution and basic of GST briefly in 2-3 lines, which we are doing in previous question as well. So writing about basics, write about positive impact of GST. Okay, thank you, Supriya. Write about positive. Actually, people talk in theoretical terms. They will tell you the meaning of critically examined, but until unless you are explaining with an example, student will not be able to understand what you want to say. And in examination, you don't have to know the meaning of the term. You have to know what you have to do. So we are doing what you have to do here. So I hope you are able to relate with me in a better way. So second part, we will talk about write about positive impact of GST on tax revenue of the state. So we are talking about first side of the coin. Second, write negative impact of GST on tax revenue of the state. So again, you are talking about other side of the coin. At the end, you will conclude. So let us see how to write this answer. Our question is critically examine the tax revenue implication of GST for a state. Same question, just the directive is critically examined. So first, same thing, briefly talk about the GST, which we have done in critically examination. You don't have to talk about the issue in more detail, just talk about 2-3 lines, then start your main part, which is you have to talk in favor and against. So write about positive impact of GST on tax revenue of the state. What will be the positive impact? First, larger tax base. A state will be able to tax the entire supply chain from manufacturing to retail. So tax base of the state will be more. They will be able to tax more people. If they are able to tax more people, then obviously the revenue of state will positively get will increase. It will have a positive impact on revenue of the state. Second, compliance will also get increased because you have got better monitoring mechanism. Corruption is less. You are using technology through GSTN, online filling of GST. So because of all this, there is better compliance. So more people are more people are paying tax. First, second, those people who are paying tax, which are more in number, they are paying actual tax. They are not paying lesser tax. So more people are paying actual sum. So obviously it will have positive impact on GST revenue of the state. Third, GST is a consumption based tax. So those states which are consuming more, they will get benefited. GST is not an origin based tax, it is the consumption based tax. So those states which are consuming more, they will get benefited. So it is good for them. Also, there is provision like some incentives in input tax credit. So those those industries which have a certain limit, they will get input tax credit as well. So voluntary compliance will also increase because it will incentivize such industries. So basically we have got more uh, people are paying tax, or more companies are paying tax. They are paying their actual tax. Also there is promotion or there is incentives to taxpayers. So all this factor will lead to positive impact on tax revenue collection of the state. Now we'll talk about other side of the coin. Write about negative impact of GST on tax revenue of the state. So first of all, here we talked about consumption state will get benefited. Now it has got a negative dimension. If consuming state are getting benefited, so manufacturing state will be at loss, because GST is a consumption based tax. It is not an origin based tax. So those state who are manufacturing, they will be at loss. So that will be your first negative point. Second, now fiscal authority of state will be lesser in GST, because earlier there were state taxes, 7 to 8 state taxes have become part of GST. Now decision of GST are taken by GST Council. GST Council is having central government, which is headed by finance minister. Now if there would be no GST, this decision on this 7-8 taxes used to be taken by states. So here state is having more fiscal autonomy or taxation autonomy. Here state is having lesser taxation autonomy. So that will also negatively impact the states. You have got one more point to write. Tax machinery of the state, or you talked about institutional machinery. For example, tax offices, manpower, technology, awareness, tax education. Now all states do not have the required institutional machinery to implement GST. So tax machinery of state is also a limitation. Their manpower is not properly trained. So training of manpower is also essential. Tax education, awareness, GST Council and role of state in GST Council. What is GST Council? Headed by finance minister. GST Council has representation of all state, but voting power is voting rights. Center has 1/3 voting right. State have 2/3 voting right. Now decisions are taken in GST Council are taken by 3/4 voting share. Now suppose there is a government at a government of a particular party in the center, and also in majority of state there is government of same political party. So the decision will be favoring that particular political party. So that will also impact other states. So you are writing negatives or limitations. Manufacturing state will be at loss. Fiscal autonomy of the state will be lesser, because earlier they had freedom to tax this implement this 7-8 taxes. Now they are being implemented by GST Council, where there is a dominating role by the center. Institutional machinery of the state, all the state machinery is not that much capable. You have to build the capacity, and at last you will conclude. So what we have done, we have talked about both sides of the coins in detail, and this way we critically examine the case. Now critically analysis will be same, but you will talk about in much deeper terms which can be done. So I hope we are able to understand So first directive was covered, which is comment. Second is critically comment. Third was examine. Fourth was critically examine. Fifth we will be analyze and critically analyze. So I think even if I do not discuss about this analysis aspect, you will be able to deal, because comment you have to talk deep, examine deeper, analyze will be more deeper, so it can be easily understood. Highest degree of deepness will be in analyze, and critically analyze you will talk about both sides of the coins. So let us talk about another directive, which is evaluate. Now imagine you have written UPSC mains examination, and think about an examiner is evaluating your answer copies. So how you will do the evaluation of, how examiner does evaluation of your answer copies? On the basis of certain parameters, that whether the student have understand of question, he is able to understood the question or not, the structure of answer, whether he have written the content or not, whether he has written in the context or of not, whether he is able to meet the requirement of question or not, how is his expression, whether he is able to write an innovative answer or not. So these are some of the parameters on the basis of which examiner is going to evaluate your answer, right? So you have to do same thing in evaluation directive, assuming you are being an example examiner, and you are evaluating the issue asked in the question as per various parameters. So what you have to do in evaluation, you have to identify the issue, you have to understand the issue. Now you have to give your opinion. That opinion will be based, it will not be your opinion, it will be opinion of some expert on the basis of committee recommendation, Supreme Court judgment, some authority or authentic source. Now avoid writing pure personal opinion. It should not be your personal opinion, because you and me, we are not an expert. So we can quote opinion of experts like Supreme Court, committee or authority, but we cannot write our personal opinion. Even if you are writing your personal opinion, substantiate your opinion with an example or committee recommendation of Supreme Court judgment. Then it will have some weightage, and at the end you have to conclude. So let us take a question. Evaluate the performance of GST on the parameter of tax collection since its implementation. What you have to do, you have to evaluate performance of GST on parameter of tax collection, that whether tax collection under GST has been increased or not. So similarly, we'll briefly talk about GST. Brief introduction. So writing about bill, amendment, indirect tax, value-added tax, implementation. Now here you have to write the implementation of GST. So from July 1st 2017 it was implemented. Now you have to evaluate the performance of GST. So first you will write about the positive outcome of GST on the parameter of tax collection, that tax collection have been increased due to GST. So you can talk about, you can take reference of economic survey of newspaper or any authoritative document that as per economic survey 2017-18, the base of indirect taxpayer has increased substantially by more than 50% after implementation of GST. So since the taxpayer base has increased, so obviously tax collection will increase. You are quoting economic survey here. Second, though GST is an indirect tax, yet it has significantly impacted contribution of direct taxes to in the overall tax revenue of the government. Again, this statement is being said by economic survey. Economic survey is saying that GST is an indirect tax, but indirectly it has impacted the direct tax revenue as well. Now, Central Board of Direct Tax (CBDT) has said that provisional direct tax collection for financial year 2017-18 was 9.95 lakh crore, which is 17.1% higher than previous year. So, implementation of GST has also impacted direct tax collection. That is another point as per Central Board of Direct Tax. Some authority is saying so, you can directly quote it. As per economic survey, again 34 lakh more business entities coming into tax net. The preliminary analysis says that the number of GST registrant rose mainly due to large increase in voluntary registration, especially by small enterprises that buy from large enterprises and want to avail input tax credit. So one more analysis is saying that because of incentives like input tax credit, smaller firms are coming into tax net because they want to avail the benefit of input tax credit. So people are coming by their own. So this is also an achievement of GST. Here you are talking about that economic survey is saying that 50% more people, more taxpayer has come into tax bracket because of GST. You are talking about that CBDT is saying that people coming into direct tax net or direct tax collection has been increased by 17% because of GST. Third, you are saying that small enterprises are coming into tax net because of various incentives like input tax credit. So this is also overall impact of on tax collection, positive impact on tax collection of GST. Now since you have to evaluate the performance, you will talk about some shortcoming as well, because you have to be a neutral person to evaluate the performance. So you will talk about some shortcomings. So you will say that there are many major taxes which are exempted from GST. For example, taxes on alcohol, petroleum, electricity, stamp duty. These taxes are not part of GST net. Because of these taxes, the revenue collection from GST is not that significant. Capacity building we have to work upon, institutional capacity need to be worked upon, and awareness, and at the end you will conclude. So what you have done, you have evaluated the question, you have evaluated the performance of GST on parameter of tax collection, and you have used authentic document, example, report, and then whatever is right you have told in evaluation. So in this way you can talk about evaluate parameter. Now analysis, I don't think I need to explain the analysis part because we have seen comment, we have also seen examine, So we can easily understand what is analyze. Analyze is same as examination, but you have to dig deeply. That is all about analyze. So what you have to do, examine is deeper than comment but less deep than analyze. So examine with close details, you have to do examine closely. So you have to understand the case, you have to inspect, investigate, talk about much details and talk about implications. So you are going much deeper. That's all you have to do. So I don't think we need to spend much time on analyze. You are able to understand. Let us talk about discuss directive. Think about a discussion panel on any particular issue. What this panel does, a discussion panel debate over an issue. So what the panel does, it debates, it go through details of each issue and also examine each issue and conclude. So discussion can be addressed in this particular way. You have to debate, talk each issue in detail, examine each issue, and at the end you have to conclude. For example, let us take a question. Discuss the role of woman in freedom struggle, especially during Gandhian phase. This question was asked in UPSC mains examination. So let us take an example on discussion directive and let us write an answer. So you will have an introduction. Now main part of the answer, you will talk about the role of woman in freedom struggle, entire freedom struggle, especially focus on Gandhian phase. Next you will talk about, you will discuss more about the role of woman, and at the end you will conclude. So what you are doing, you are talking each issue in detail and examining each issue and you are concluding. So let us talk about, first in introduction you will talk that before Gandhian phase there were many women who have participated in India's freedom struggle. For example, Maharani Velu Nachiyar or Rani Lakshmibai in the battle of 1857. She participated. Before Gandhian era in Swadeshi movement in 1905, there was participation of women, especially some urban women. Home Rule League, Annie Besant was led this league, and in introduction you will say that there was limited role, though there were women participation in India's freedom struggle before Gandhian era, but the role of woman was limited. Also during Gandhian era there was mass participation of women, so this was a major change. So you can say, though women were participating in India's struggle for food freedom before Gandhian era, but the new thing in Gandhian era was mass participation of women came into fore. Now we will talk about main part of the answer. In main part you will write role in mass movement led by Gandhiji. So which women have participated? You can take example of Vijay Lakshmi Pandit. She participated in civil disobedience movement. Kasturba Gandhi, wife of Gandhiji, and Aruna Asif Ali, they participated in Quit India movement. So you can take example of some women leaders and you talk about that yes, after Gandhian era there was mass participation of women. They participated in large numbers. Second part, you will talk about participation of women in revolutionary movements. There were many women revolutionary like Rani Gadinelu. She was from Northeast, if you remember. Kalpana Datta, Chittagong Harmony Red, she participated in that particular red. In Indian National Congress, Annie Besant and Sarojini Naidu, they were prominent leader of Congress. They also presided Congress sessions. There were some women organizations like Rashtriya Stri Sangh. Rajkumari Kaur, she founded All India Women's Conference. So what you are talking about participation of women in various facets of India's freedom struggle, be it Gandhian movement led by Gandhiji, or in revolutionary movements in Indian National Congress. There were many women organizations as well. Now here in third para, you will discuss more. So you will talk about that women not only participate as leader of the movement but also as a participants. You'll also talk about women not only participated directly, they also participated indirectly by supporting their husbands, their family members and relatives. They have participated being underground. So there was direct and indirect participation of women after arrival of Gandhiji into India's freedom struggle. You will discuss more about it. You will conclude at the end. In conclusion, you will talk about that the participation of women was there in India's freedom struggle in all phases of struggle, but during Gandhian phase, it was mass participation. Here you will also talk about certain limitations, that majority of women who participated in the freedom struggle were urban educated women. Though there were some rural women, but majority of them were urban educated women. So you can say that yes, entire all women did not participate in movement, but they were led by urban educated women, and they in that way you can conclude your answer. So you are covering all dimension. You are discussing the participation of women, covering all aspect of the movement, and then in that way you can conclude your answer. So that is discussion directive. Now justify. Next directive is justify. So in justify, usually they will give you some statement which is true statement, and they will ask you to justify it. So statement is correct, you only have to justify it. So what you have to do, question is opinionated statement. It is an opinion, but it is a true opinion, so you have to justify it. Now how you will justify something? Through credible evidence. Whatever your evidence you are giving, they should be credible. You will explain it further. You will use fact, theories, committee recommendation. You will take some examples. So your justification will be based on some credible evidence. That's all you have to do. So use example, committee recommendation, explain it further, give credible evidence, write facts, theories, and in all you just have to do, you have to keep one thing in mind, that a statement is true and I have to justify it in all possible ways. That is justification. Let us take a question. Indian should it is India should represent developing nations in United Nations Security Council as a permanent member. Justify. So there is a statement which is saying that India should become a permanent member of United Nations Security Council. Now justify this particular statement. Now since it is a, I told you that in justification examiner will give you a true statement. So assuming it being a true statement, you have to justify on the basis of various evidences. So since question is about United Nations Security Council, so you will talk about UNSC in introduction. Main part will be justification. So you will justify around various dimensions, and at the end you will conclude. So let us talk about introduction. In introduction, you will talk about United Nations Security Council. What are the benefits of United Nations Security Council? What kind of body it is? So talk about United Nations Security Council. Talk about veto power of permanent members. What is role of Security Council? Which are permanent members? So there are 5 permanent members. Talk about them: China, France, Russia, UK and USA. So you are talking about basics of question, basics of United Nations Security Council here. Now in main part you will justify that why India should represent developing nations in United Nations Security Council. So first we will talk about India is largest democracy in the world. First point, major point. Also it has population, second largest population in the world after China. Area wise, 7th largest area. So you are asking that we are having 135 crore people. Our area is 7th largest area. We are largest democracy. So the voice of 135 crore people, the voice of 7th largest area and voice of largest democracy should be incorporated in United Nations Security Council. That's why India should become a permanent member. So first point, you have written democracy, population, area. Second, you will also talk about India's contribution in United Nations, that what role has been played by India in UN. So India was a founding member of United Nations. It joined United Nations in 1945. So it was a founder member. So an important member of United Nations. You will also talk about it is an active member, because it attend all the important meetings of United Nations Security Council. India is one of the leading player in United Nations peacekeeping mission in disturbed countries in African nations. India has played a prominent role in UN peacekeeping missions. That's why we can bargain that we should become a member of Security Council. Also, India is strongly following the principle of United Nations, be it peace, justice, harmony, environmental protection, or other core principle of United Nations. So we are a strong advocate of United Nations security principles. So obviously such country which are part and parcel of United Nations mission, part and parcel of United Nations principles, they should be given a voice. Also, in many important positions in United Nations we have served time and again. So we have also showed that we can play the role of a leader. So we are an active player, we are a founding member, we follow UN principle, we lead in various organizations of United Nations. So we are eligible for it. Talk about development. India is one of the largest developing nation in the world. So On development parameter, we also fulfill the condition. We are member of many important groups, be it G20. G20 is one of the largest group in the world, especially in terms of economic power. We are member of SARC, BRICS, IBSA, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and many other leading groups of the world. Now, how India is a representative of developing nations? India has raised its voice in favor of developing nations time and again in all the UN negotiation. For example, not in UN but also around the world. For example, in WTO, we have raised our voice against agriculture subsidies. In Paris Climate Deal, we talked about common but differential responsibility. India is a leading proponent of common but differential responsibility in environmental talks. We are supporting African nations. Many assistance program of India are being run in African nations. We are supporting our neighborhood countries, be it Nepal, earthquake. We are helping Bhutan and all other neighborhood countries. So we can represent developing nations, and at the end you have to conclude that since long time United Nations Security Council is dominated by developed nations. It is high time that representation of developing nations should also be given a space in United Nations Security Council, and this way you can conclude. So what you have to do, you have to do justification that India should represent developing nations in United Nations Security Council as a permanent member. You talked about all the dimensions, introduction, basics. Main part, you justify your stand by various parameters, largest democracy, population, area, various role played by India in UN, how on the development parameter, representative of developing nations, and concluded. So in this way you can write your answer. Now narrate. Next directive is narrate or keyword is narrate. Now in narration, what is narration? Narration is basically a story. A story is not written in point format. Story is written in paragraph format. Nowhere we have seen a story written in point format. So narration, whenever examiner asks you to narrate something, what you have to do, you have to write your answer in a story format, and since it is in story format, you have to write in paragraph and maintain the flow. That's all about narration. So narration, just narrate in a story format, linking paragraph, linking dots, connecting dot, that should be flow in your story. In this way you can write the narrate directive. Now narrate is rarely asked in UPSC mains examination, so you should know the meaning of it only. Enumerate. What is enumeration? Enumeration is basically listing down or list down. So if you are enumerating something, you are making a list. So whenever the directive is enumerate, you have to make a list and briefly discuss about each point in the list. For example, there is a question, enumerate sustainable development goal in brief details. So just you have to list down the sustainable development goal and give a brief detail of each goal. So there are 17 SDGs. So in first para you will write about introduction. Main part you will talk about, you will list down all SDGs, and at the end you will conclude. In main part you will also give brief detail of each SDG. So in introduction, whatever is being asked, be it sustainable development goal or millennium development goal or any other thing, you have to briefly explain it. So SDG was launched by United Nations to mainstreaming sustainable development. It is universal, integrated and transformative agenda. There are 17 sustainable development goal and 169 targets. These are not legally binding. They were launched in January 2016. Target year was to complete this target by 2030. So these are some basics. You have to talk about basics in your introduction. Now in main part you will have to list down all sustainable development goal. So ending poverty, and talk in briefly what is the more about it. So ending poverty in all its form and everywhere, and hunger, talk more about it. Achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being of at all stages. So you just have to list down and talk briefly about each particular point. For example, he may ask you to list down fundamental duties. He may ask you to list down Gandhian DPSP. He may ask you to list down fundamental rights. So this can be written in this fashion. Just list down each point and detail, talk briefly. Inclusive and equitable education and promote lifelong learning. Gender equality and empowerment women. Ensure availability and sustainability of water, energy. This is about women. It is about education. So you can talk about in this way. Decent work, infrastructure, reduce inequality. It is about cities, sustainable consumption and production pattern, climate change, oceans, ecosystem, societies and sustainable development. So you just have to list down all your points, and at the end you have to conclude that we not only have to just set target, but also have to work on capacity building of all nations, especially focusing on developing and third world nations to attain sustainable development goal. In this way you can conclude. So this is enumeration. I hope you are able to get my point. Now next directive is elucidate. What is elucidate? What you have to do in elucidation? Actually elucidation is basically there is something which is confusing and you have to make it crystal clear. That is elucidation. Something which is confusing, which was previously confusing, you have to make it crystal clear. That is elucidation. To make something crystal clear which was formerly confusing, how to do it to make it more crystal clear? What you have to do? you have to give credible evidence, use explanation, facts, theories, examples to make it understand in a better way. So that is elucidation. Basically, you are uh, doing away the confusion and you are making certain issue more clear. That is all about elucidation. Substantiate. What is substantiate? Just you have to give. Substantiate is evidence. So suppose something is said in question, there is a statement, this is statement. Now he is asking you to substantiate. So basically he is asking you to give evidence in favor of a statement. So give evidence in support of the something which is asked in the question. How to do it? Take help of reports, committee recommendation, Supreme Court judgment, facts, theories, and then that will be your evidence, and in that way you will be able to substantiate or give evidence. That is about substantiate. So you can see elucidate, elucidate and substantiate are more or like same. In elucidate you are making something clear on the basis of credible evidence. In substantiate again you are writing evidence, credible evidence in favor of your statement. So both are more or less similar. So the question will be asked either to, examiner will ask either to elucidate which is not clear or substantiate. Explain. What you have to do, for example, when we were kids, now you haven't done your homework, so teacher will ask you that explain why you haven't done your homework. So what you have to give reason, that I was ill or some other reason. So that is you are giving explanation. Similarly in explain directive, what you have to do, you have to give clear reason about what, why and how something is happening, why you haven't done homework or what happened with you. So you have to give reason in explanation directive. So I hope I have covered all directive in detail. These are most frequently asked directive. If you have any more confusion, write to me in my Unacademy this Telegram channel. You can ask me there. There is a comment section. There is a chat section. You can ask. Use my code AJ01 to take subscription to Unacademy. Hope this class was useful to you. Thank you very much. We'll meet in tomorrow. Today evening we are having a we are having a class on essay writing 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. We will write a philosophical essay. It will be second class on advanced essay writing module. Same channel. So be with me. Thank you very much for being in the class. Like the class.